Hello, today I'm going to talk about 10 free or cheap things you can do in London. We all know how pricey the place is, roughly speaking. So what can you do when you're on a budget? I'm going to talk about that. And I'm going to talk about 10 things that you can do. Or 10 categories indeed, because there's lots of things. So if you like London, hit the like button. And if you don't like London, hit the dislike button, let me know. If you're new to the channel, subscribe, and let's get on with it. Number 10. A lot of people like to go in the London Eye, or on the Shard, to have a big view over the City of London and all that. But it's a bit pricey, and pretty overpriced. I mean, I haven't been in it either, because I've listened to what people have said about it and I don't want to spend the money anyway. But you're kind of looking at high prices. In the Shard, if you don't book in advance, it can be £100. And they shuffle you through, they don't let you stay there, you have to move on, keep moving. At least when it's busy. In the London Eye, you're kind of stuck in it for 45 minutes, okay? Interesting for a bit, but not quite the thing, and you've got this plastic bubble in your way all the time. But there are a couple of alternatives. One is the Sky Garden in the Walkie Talkie Tower, 20 Fenchurch Street. Now, it's free to go in, although you do normally have to book it in advance, and you can do so on their website. There are expensive restaurants in there, so if you don't want it to be too pricey, watch what you buy, but the actual entrance is free, and you get a nice view over part of London. I haven't been up there yet. I'm intending to go at some point because it's free, but you're not like right over the Houses of Parliament like you are in the London Eye. You're further east than that, but you should be able to see it from there quite well, and a good view of the river as well, and a good view of Tower Bridge as well from there, and all that end of London. Another one you could consider is the Monument. It's just called the Monument, and it's at Monument Tube. That's about £4, I think. The disadvantage of the Monument is it's not as high, and it's sort of stuck in the middle of the financial district of the city. The view isn't so good, but it's not bad. And there's about 300 steps to climb up, so if you are not able to climb steps, it's no good. There's no lift or anything, because this thing was built in like 1667 or something like that, just after the Great Fire of London, as a monument. So, but you can get some view. Another place you can go for a free view is, I think it's called One New Change shopping centre near St Paul's. You can go right up to the top floor, and on the roof there you can get a nice view of St Paul's Cathedral and a few other bits in the eastern end of London from there. Number 9, the O2 Centre and the Emirates Airline. Now, the O2 Centre is the Millennium Dome, renamed for branding purposes, but and it's free to go in. Obviously, if there are concerts and shows and exhibitions, you have to pay for those. The shops that are in there are not free, of course, but it's interesting to go and have a look and have a nose around and see what's there. And you can walk a little way from it, badly signposted in my experience, but not far from it is the cable car across the River Thames. So you can get roughly a 10-minute trip across the river, nice views over Greenwich and the water barrier thing, the Thames barrier thing, to stop flooding in London, and you can see back towards the City of London as well from the other side, so it's all quite good. The trip on the cable car isn't free, but it's on your Oyster card, so it's just another train journey equivalent. It's one journey on a travel card of about, I don't know, £5 or something. On the other side there's the XL Exhibition Centre, which is nothing much for tourists, but if you're going to an exhibition it might be handy. And and you can get the Docklands Light Railway back into town or somewhere else, or get the airline back. I don't know, but it's cheap and quite nice little trip. Number 8, London is famous for lots and lots of famous people. Various rock stars have lived in certain houses here, and you might go and find them. Mick Jagger, Madonna, Elton John, you name it, there's houses around, okay? And you can go and see them and harass them or something, I don't know. But there are also famous historical and fictional characters, and you can do walks, guided walks in London at usually £10 per person, which are yeah, that's affordable for most people. It's not like a normal London thing that's charged for is going to cost you from £20 to £70 or more even per person. So to go to the theatre or something, it could be 60 quid, honestly, if you want the best seats. There are cheaper seats, obviously, but it's still pricey, and the seats that are cheap are not good. In fact, some of them are terrible. Okay, but think about maybe a Charles Dickens walk, showing some of the sites that he mentioned in his books. Or there's Harry Potter walks, and you can go to King's Cross Station and get yourself photographed outside a fake platform 9 3/4, okay? And there's a Harry Potter shop there as well if you're interested. There's Jack the Ripper walks. What else? I'm trying to avoid getting too much sunshine on my face here. It's going a bit mad. Sherlock Holmes. There's also a Sherlock Holmes museum and a shop. Now you can go to the shop, obviously cheaply enough. I don't know about the museum. I haven't checked what the price is. You can go for a walk along the south bank of the Thames and see lots of things there, many of which are free. The Royal Festival Hall has free concerts and paid concerts. The National Film Theatre has cheap films. Sometimes there's the Tate Modern Gallery. There's St Paul's Cathedral, which isn't free, but you can stand outside and photograph it. That's on the North Bank, but still the South Bank walk is nice. Shakespeare's Globe Theatre, you can photograph that. These things, if you want to pay to go in, then you have to pay. But they're quite nice just to see and enjoy from the outside, frankly. That's what I do. Save myself the money. There's the Beatles' famous crossing on Abbey Road, which is not anywhere near Abbey Road station on the Docklands Light Railway. Don't get caught by that. It is not there. It's near St John's Wood station, okay, on the tube. Not Abbey Road. But it is Abbey Road, it is the crossing, and you can get yourself, or you can photograph yourself there, or get someone to photograph you if you don't mind them risking them running off with your camera or something. I don't think it happens much. You can go on a haunted London tour. There's Knights Templars tours, walks. These are, as I say, it's £10 per person. You just find out when it is and turn up, and then you pay when you're there. Now, with any of these walks, if it involves going into a famous site like the Tower of London, then obviously you also have to pay the entrance fee, 30 quid or something, okay, per person. So watch out for that. But if it's just a walk without going into any special building, then £10, and you'll be well entertained and educated for a couple of hours, and that's very good. I think there's also a spies walk that they do for famous historical spies and spying and stuff like that, and even up-to-date information. And oh yes, there's also Dr. Johnson's house, which is not a walk, but it is a character. He is a character, a real-life character, and you can go and visit that. It's just off Fleet Street. And there are other places. People's homes have been turned into museums, and things like that. Another thing you can do is canal walks. Now there are canals all over the country. They were built during the Industrial Revolution, and there are several canals in London. One I like the most is probably Regent's Canal, and the easiest bit of it to find and to do is just to walk along the top of Regent's Park and into Camden Lock and Camden Town. That bit of the canal is very easily found and navigated, and very nice on a sunny day. And it'll take you an hour or two to stroll along it. And there's London Zoo on the way, which you have to pay for, of course, but the canal walk itself is free. And there's Camden Market, where you can buy all sorts of junk that you don't need, which is the whole point of it, really. There are other canal walks. You can go from Islington down to the Docklands. It's the same canal, but you just join it at Islington instead. And that's that. There's the Lee Valley River navigation, which I haven't explored much. Even though I used to live over there, I didn't explore it much. There's others. But if you're interested in industrial archaeology or just pretty walks, these are quite nice. Now, a lot of people who've got some money come to London to do a bit of shopping. Now, there's famous stores in London, of course, like Harrods, Selfridges, Liberties, the Disney store. Let's see, Selfridges is on Oxford Street, near Marble Arch. Harrods is on Kensington High Street, near Kensington Tube Station and all that, and Hyde Park Corner indeed. Liberties is just off Regent Street and Oxford Circus, which is Oxford Street, and it's near Carnaby Street as well. What else we got? The Disney shop is on Regent Street as well, near Piccadilly Circus. There's a National Geographic shop there as well. Fortnum & Mason's on Piccadilly, that's a famous shop. The Queen buys stuff there apparently. I presume she doesn't pop in for a bit of shopping, but probably sends the butler around or something, I don't know. That's in sort of Piccadilly and St James. The St James is a posh district of London full of museums, or art galleries rather, and things like that. You can wander around and have a nose around. And it's very near to the palaces, Prince Charles's home, and that's St James's Palace, of course, and the Queen's home, Buckingham Palace, is not far from there. Those places you have to pay to go in, if you're allowed in at all. At certain times you are. And that was number 7, by the way. I don't know if I said it. Oh no, number 6 was window shopping, and number 7 was the canal walks. Right. Number 5. I kind of alluded to it. It's strolling around districts. I'm hoping my notes here aren't going to reflect too much on here, but anyway. There are loads and loads and loads of interesting districts in London, and whether you go for a guided tour of them or not, they're interesting just to wander around. Like Soho and Chinatown, just off Leicester Square, just off the north side, up through any little alley there, you're in Chinatown. It's a couple of streets, basically. Piccadilly Circus, Trafalgar Square, the district of St James, as I mentioned. You could just wander around them at random and have a look. There's things to see if you've got your eyes open. The South Bank Walk, which I mentioned earlier, is perhaps one of my favourites along the south bank of the river. It's free, of course, just to walk, and it's good daytime or nighttime because everything's lit up at night, so it looks kind of nice there then as well. And there's things going on most of the time, especially in the summer. There will be street performers at the weekends and during the week sometimes too. There's a book market if it's not raining under Waterloo Bridge. And you can just walk on and on and on. You can actually walk for miles alongside the river. You have to take a little detour around the occasional 2 or 3 buildings, but after 100 metres or 200 metres or so you can divert back to the riverside and carry on. You can also walk along the North Bank, which is interesting as well. Along Victoria Embankment from, say, Big Ben, for example, all the way along the riverside past the Battle of Britain memorials, down through Blackfriars and past St Paul's and down all the way to the Tower of London, with one or two little diversions along the way. You can wander around Canary Wharf and the Docklands if you like sort of new buildings, and if you like glass and steel and things of that sort, and also if you like the docks as well. I've done a video on it, you can have a look, see what it's like. Of course there's Oxford Street for shopping and window shopping. Kind of fits into both categories, that one. There's the Temple District you might want to wander around, where the lawyers hang out. There's Greenwich Park and the Greenwich Observatory. You have to pay to go into the observatory, but the park is free. The buildings, you can wander around and peek in some of them. Carnaby Street, as I mentioned, near Liberties, near Regent Street, near Oxford Street. Abbey Road I mentioned. The embankment also goes past Southwark Cathedral, which is free to go in and have a look around. If you take photos there, they want you to pay a couple of pounds just to sort of defray their religious costs. So, okay. Number 4, London's parks. London is famous for massive parks. Hyde Park is perhaps the most famous in central London. It's Hyde Park and Kensington Gardens. It's kind of two in one. They just join arbitrarily in the middle. There's a boating pond there. There's various expensive, not very good cafes in it. But strolling around the park itself is free. There are often events on in the park which are also usually, but not always, free to attend. Concerts sometimes are free, sometimes not. There's the Speaker's Corner up near Marble Arch corner of it, where madmen harangue you to believe in this or that, just like on the internet. There's Regent's Park, one of my favourites. It's a very decorative park, huge. Again, you can spend the best part of a day here probably. It has London Zoo in it, which you have to pay for, £30 per person, watch out. 22 for children, I think, unless they're under 3, then it's free. There's the open air theatre in Regent's Park as well, up to £60 a ticket, 65 I think actually, 25 for the cheap ones. But you can wander around in the gardens. You can sit beside the boating lake. On a sunny day it's really nice there. Holland Park near Notting Hill, it's another nice park with Japanese gardens in it. Crystal Palace in the south of London, that's got sort of Egyptian sphinxes and stuff like that in it, from the old Crystal Palace, which was burnt down. Every now and then there's talk of some Chinese investors or somebody reinvesting to rebuild the Crystal Palace for the second or third time. Well, maybe it'll happen, I don't know, but the park itself is nice. And it also has a free dinosaur garden, which is great for the kids, with life-size models of the dinosaurs in it, as thought of during Edwardian times, I think it was. So they're anatomically accurate according to the science of that day. So they're not quite accurate according to our day. Some of them are a bit off, but they're still pretty good. And there's also a free children's zoo as well. If you hunt around on the edge of the park, you'll find it there. Near the railway station. What else have I got here? Oh, one park I forgot to mention. Richmond Park, the biggest of them all, I think. 2,500 acres of nature reserve, and that's about 1,000 hectares if you're metric. It's got a herd of 650 wild deer. So, and because the park is so huge, you might have to hunt around a while before you find any. Okay, but they are in there, and you will see them if you wander deep into the park somewhere. Usually around the vicinity of Spankers Hill Wood, apparently. There's smaller ones, Victoria Embankment Garden, which is on the north part of the Thames, a tiny park in comparison. Kew Gardens, which is not free, however. I'm afraid you have to pay one of the usual extortionate prices to get in there, but it's very nice. But I'm afraid it's not free. The Olympic Park in Stratford is free to go in. I don't like it as much as the others personally, but if you're into Olympics and sports, you might find it very interesting. Those are the main parks. There are actually loads and loads of parks around London, little ones and huge ones. I'm only mentioning the main ones that tourists are going to hear of. Number 3, markets. I've mentioned Camden Market at Camden Lock. This is kind of the granddaddy of all, the Stables Market in Camden Town. There's about 5 markets in Camden Town, so get up to Camden Lock and you'll find the Stables Market up there. And you can buy all sorts of weird stuff and gimmicks and lots of food and punky clothing and all sorts of stuff there. It's quite amazing. Busy, especially at the weekends, but that is the best time to go. And it's right on the canal. And quite close to central London. Another one is Portobello Road, which is open on Saturdays, Antiques Market. That's a nice stroll up the road. Borough Market near London Bridge is a food market. Safe except when terrorists are attacking it. Covent Garden Market in central London near Covent Garden Tube. Very interesting. You've got the Royal Opera House there, you've got the London Transport Museum there. It's quite near Leicester Square and Chinatown and Neal's Yard and other little interesting alleys and things to see there. Neal's Yard is kind of a new agey spot where you can buy your essential oils and new age music and have some falafel or something to eat. And Covent Garden also has lots of little archways and street performers. It's many people's favourite market in London, actually. It's there most of the time, but it's at its busiest at the weekend when most of the stalls are present at the weekend. Saturdays. Number 2. Famous buildings and churches. Now, obviously some of the famous buildings you have to pay to go in. In fact, most of them, but you can take photos from outside, after all. Obviously the Houses of Parliament are really grand inside. It's about £28 per person if you book it on the spot, or a bit cheaper if you book it in advance. You may well have to book it in advance because it gets very busy. You can also go on a tour of Big Ben, the tower itself. Again, it's expensive and you do have to book it in advance, a long time in advance. St Paul's Cathedral you have to pay to go in, but again it's nice to photograph it from the outside. There's Westminster Abbey, fantastic old building, more than 1,000 years old. It was built in 960 AD. 13 members of the royal family or kings and royals are buried in it, and Charles Darwin and Isaac Newton and a lot of other famous people. Okay, but you have to pay to go in it, I'm afraid. So Hobson's choice there, really. A lot of the churches, though, are ordinary churches, are completely free to go in, of course, and you can have a look around at the decorations and stuff. Or maybe worship if you're into that. St Bride's on Fleet Street has free concert recitals every Tuesday and Friday for the past 25 years. They last about 45 minutes, and there'll be somebody playing some classical pieces on a piano or saxophone or drums or whatever it is. I don't know, but I go there occasionally. There's St Dunstan's also on Fleet Street. There's St Clement's on Fleet Street, which has an interesting exhibition because that's the RAF official church. That has a bit about how it was bombed out during the Second World War. But there are loads and loads of churches in London, and you can just explore them quite happily. And some other buildings you can go in for free as well occasionally. And that leaves us to number 1, the most obvious one as well, perhaps, museums and galleries. The vast majority of the museums, and certainly the big ones, are free. They have a box in the front for donations, so it's up to you if you want to stick a few quid in. I never pay anything because I already pay extortionate taxes, thank you very much. But you've got the British Museum, which has like ancient Egypt and stuff like that in it, and actually it's got lots and lots of stuff, 11 million items or something in their collection or something. There's the National Gallery, which is paintings and stuff in Trafalgar Square, all free, famous paintings in it. National Portrait Gallery is just around the corner of it if you want pictures of people. The Natural History Museum, my favourite, I think, with dinosaurs and blue whales and stuff like that. There's a Science Museum right next door to it, attached to it, and the Geological Museum as well is also right next door as well. And just across the road from it, or just along the road a bit, is the Victoria and Albert Museum, which is like a sort of textiles and design museum. We have the Tate Modern, which is modern art on the South Bank. We have Tate Britain, sort of closer to Houses of Parliament. Just up the road from it, the Jeffrey Museum is a little museum, which is, I think there might be a small fee to go in, it's something like £4. But that is like how rooms were furnished over the last few centuries, what they would have looked like for people living in England at that time. I think it's, let's see when it's open. They have guided tours Tuesday, Wednesday and Saturday, or it's open anyway Tuesday to Sunday. So the guided tour is £4, or if you go when there's no tour you can pick up a guide for £3.50, a guide book. There's also the Museum of London in the city section, and there are Roman walls and Roman ruins in that area too. And you can go into all of these for free, so well worth visiting, I think. Okay, have I missed anything important out? I'll stick some links below to some of them, and let me know, are there places you'd like to visit which are free, and that people perhaps should know about and I've forgotten about or didn't know about? Is there anything you want to add, basically? So leave a comment below. As I say, if you like London, then hit the subscribe button, and if you like this video, hit the like button and all that. Yes, and goodbye, and I'll see you in another video sometime. Bye for now.